Hey, what's going on, everybody? Boilon here, back for another video on Marvel Strike Force, and today we have a very special guest for our video here to talk about Battleworld. We have Big Positive Geek with us back on the channel. How's this going?
What's going on, Boilon? Thank you, mate, for having me on.
We have a lot of stuff to talk about today. We have, especially on the back of the live stream from the other day, we have basically, official confirmation on, I would say at this point, pretty much everything with regards to Battle World. And we've both been working on some new infographics to share with the community on Battle World, which hopefully is going to make things a little bit clearer, at least visually anyways, for people to understand all the characters that we're going to need for Battle World. So I think that's pretty exciting to talk about.
Definitely. A lot of work's gone into this from both Boilon and myself. So, yeah.
So hopefully you guys will sit back, relax, and hear what we have to say. So if you are all ready to go, let's boil this down. Okay, so I have this new scene here set up for this video here. And so we're going to be starting with day one of Battle World. On the right-hand side, a lot of people just want a more visual way to kind of understand the characters that we're going to be using. So why don't you get us started here with Zone 1?
Yeah, thank you, buddy. So Zone 1, Node 1, shall we say, or Mission 1 is a city mission. So you're only going to be having city characters for this. There is a special, or the node rules for this is that it counts as Cosmic Crucible. So Cosmic Crucible rules are in effect. And special rule, quite like this special rule for this is on spawn. You're going to add 6 counters and 6 offense up to all superior 6 members. So the best team to put on this node obviously will be superior 6, which is, we've taken this as sort of like a almost mid-game account sort of version, really. So we know that people aren't going to have the biggest of rosters, and the tippy top, that's who's going to be fighting for all the big points. But this is looking at your everyday sort of Marvel Strike Force players account.
Yeah, and I think also that, there are like my alt account doesn't actually have Spider Slayer leveled up. So I think that there is some alternative here, obviously, to fit in other Sinister Six members, because, you can still use characters like Vulture and Mysterio, which are like the 2 best ones to kind of fit in here. So I think you can still do that, and that's fine too. They just won't get the counters and the offense up. I don't think it's the end of the world, though, necessarily for that.
And that would open up, obviously, then your use of Spider Slayer, as long as you've got him at Gear 15 on Spec Ops 4 down the bottom there. So
yeah, we'll get to that once we get through the rest of the combat missions here. So, I mean, Spider-Verse, that looks pretty self-explanatory. I mean, the bonuses are related to Spider Society. They're probably one of the best teams in the game, honestly. So, I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't use this at all. I mean, you could struggle and do something else if you really wanted to, but for the 99% of players, and I guess we should say this in the beginning, that I, would just recommend these teams. As far as Spec Ops goes, I would do your combat missions first, and then the characters that you have left over to do that. For 99% of us. This is not towards like those top 50 raid alliances. This is like, I'm talking about the vast majority of players will do things this way, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So the Spider-Verse node, the second node, which counts as a raid as well. So you're even going to be getting the raid bonuses. I mean, you could look at something like Hive Mind in here if you were really pushing to push through it.
That's an option as well.
That is an option, but certainly would recommend Spider Society in this node.
Yeah.
Then we have the Herald missions. These are the missions that were changed. So originally, the missions, we had 4 missions plus the Elite mission. They've sort of scaled that down, so we now have 2 missions, a Herald mission and the Elite mission. The Herald mission, the nodes on this counts as arena and raids, and is a cosmic node, so only cosmic characters can be used on this. But it does have a special rule of Annihilators gain a 40% assist chance.
Yeah, that's on I think that's interesting. Now, I know not everyone is necessarily going to have, I would probably say Silver Surfer leveled, because even my alt account, I've done Ultimus because I did it for Dark Dimension 7, I think there's some space that you could use an alternative cosmic character in there. You could use a Vol. I mean, I'm just off the top of my head. I'm just trying to think of like other strong cosmic characters, right? That you could
Oh,
throw
like
in there.
Bang, like
Uh,
Kestrel.
that'll be any top meta cosmic characters. Honestly, will do in that fifth slot. I think. I do like Ultimus though, because he does give like
I mean,
on kill, he gives the turn bar. So I think you might get some wider usage from it in a longer term battle. Vol could be actually pretty good because because the raid tags are open, so that's good too.
are open, yeah, and as are the arena tags. So
Yeah, I'm not sure if we're going to be
but
spending too much time on the elite missions because it's the same on every single zone.
mhm.
But it
I th-
is Astral and Pegasus, and
yeah,
I think the TLDR from the live stream was that Pegasus really struggles in this. It's not. I don't know if it's impossible, but at least in the higher difficulties, it's very hard, and to the point where it's they want you to buy this team, right? That's
yeah, that's what it's made for, definitely. I think also noting with the Herald mission very quickly, Boilon, that the node rules counts as arena and raid. Raid seems to be a similar thing throughout all the Herald missions, and that is down to the the characters that you're going to face on that Herald mission.
yeah. So all the Herald missions I think have raids, and I think a lot of them do a symbiote. Actually, in fact, I think a lot of them are hive mind. I think that's probably why they do
Hmm.
have the raid bonuses active for that one. And it's in. We didn't say it on the infographic, but it's implied. Obviously, this is Battle World. Battle World text is active, right? I don't think we need to.
Yes.
I don't think
Yeah.
that needed to be on there, but in case people ask about that one. And as far as the spec ops go, like I said, do your combat missions first, do spec ops second. I'm trying to look at the, what might be kind of weird on that list. I don't think Zone 1 necessarily has any big ones. SO7 is going to be your G19s, though. So Big Time Spidey is probably the biggest one on there. That's kind of weird. That's
Yeah.
not everyone's necessarily going to have. And actually, I don't even know if I have. Wonder if I should. I don't know if I'm going to do that now, but these are going to be for your top, like top 50 alliances that end up doing this. The
The thing
diamonds.
is, and what wasn't clear,
Yeah.
with the spec ops was, do you need to fill everything? And even they couldn't answer this question on the live stream. Was, do you need to fill everything to gain the points, the extra VPs?
Yeah.
On the spec ops? Now, if that is the case, most alliances will be able to do spec ops 1 through 3. Spec Ops 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 are going to be not just the hookup points because of the gear tier or the stars or the diamonds that you need on those characters, but also just on the fact that it's starting to pull away from the characters that the missions are made for.
Yeah. Yeah. I think definitely I'm looking at 6 right now and I see a 6 red Nova, right? And he's a dark promotion credit character. And depending on how old your account is, you're not putting, or you shouldn't be putting reds into Nova. And if you do have to complete that entire circle, which is basically doing 5 characters from each of these 6 choices to fill that up, then there's going to be a couple characters on each one of these that make it challenging, like Big Time Spidey,
Exactly.
like Nova, and I don't know, 1 diamond on Gladiator, because that presumes that you have a 7 yellow as well, actually. So he needs to be
It does.
So yeah, I mean, I would I guess what I would say is focus on SO1, 2, and 3 for sure. Those are probably the easiest ones to do, and maybe SO4 as well. Those 4 probably are fine. And then
And you could probably get through that Spider-Verse node without Noir.
Yeah.
And you could probably get through the city node without Spider Slayer. So yeah.
Yeah. And I think we'll have to see, when this starts on Monday for sure, whether or not you need all of that inputted in order to get the points for that. And so that'll kind of change things. So that's a bit of a subject to change moment, I suppose, here on Spec Ops. But otherwise, if that ends up being the case, don't be surprised. Let's move on to zone number 2. So this is zone 2, day 2, obviously, and I do want to say that, people were asking, like, how much effort do you need to put in to progress through the zones? And I think it was pretty much mentioned more or less that, as long as like a third of your alliance is active, like it's not too punishing, I think. I heard something like that. Like 8 to 10 players active would get you through each zone. And so they're not designing it to be super punishing in that regard.
Exactly. So zone 2?
Yeah, you want to start things off?
Yeah, so node 1, as per the Strike Spot stream as well, was Mercenary. This has some node rules, which is counts as war and raid. However, that special rule for this: on spawn, grant 50% crit chance and 300% crit damage to all mercs for money. So obviously that, mercs for money is the natural choice for this.
Huge, 300% crit damage is huge.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot. Yeah, they're just gonna roll through that, I think, at that point.
Yeah, definitely.
I also wanted to say that, like, if you're not using it for mercs for money, it's utter trash, though. Like, I don't know if there's going to be future characters to put in there, like Hitmonkey, or what they're planning, but, like, there's, like, you have Taskmaster, right? Like, I don't know who's left over if you don't use these characters. We'll maybe briefly touch about it on Spec Ops,
that Merc Lieutenant that we all bought up for. I mean, like, for our Angel back in the day.
I mean, I hope that there's, like, kind of new characters that they add later on, but I mean, otherwise it's a really funny trade, I suppose, because there's, like, almost no other option. But
exactly.
So we have Global and Villain for the second combat mission, but it's specifically its combat traits for Cabal with Cosmic Crucible game mode active. And I think this is pretty interesting because it's 5 speed up and 5 safeguard. That's a lot to all Cabal characters. But what I really like is that they also give Ares, Emma, Loki, and Doctor Doom the Cabal tag. So this is giving a lot of extra value and benefit to Ares for people who have leveled them up. And then Emma and Loki from the Old Man Logan trial. Doctor Doom's interesting as well, but I think I stopped, putting investment into him, so I'll probably go with Ares on this one.
And I think that will also, that'll also please some of the comic book fans, because I know there's enough people that have gone, there aren't enough people with the Cabal tagging game and stuff like that. And so, having Doom and Emma and Ares and Loki, who were, I believe, all part of the Cabal in the comics, would be...
We were actually talking about Doctor Doom getting a rework back when Cabal was coming out, because I know I did a video on that thinking that he was going to get a rework for that, and it didn't end up happening because he was in the dialogue text as well. The Cabal missions. So I guess this is kind of the, him coming back onto that, which is pretty cool. It's just, I don't know if I'd go out of my way to build them just for this mission. I don't think it's highly necessary, but... there's it's global and villain, right? So you can choose any other villain character. You could do like Black Cat or whatever, any good characters that you have upgraded that are heavily to fit into that. And it's probably fine because Cabal's just really powerful with their Crucible tags.
Exactly. And you can even put Apocalypse into this.
That's true too. That would just blow things out of the water.
So we got the Herald mission. This is the mutant tag on this. So you can use any mutant character you want. Again, as per all the Herald missions, they have node rules as count as raid. This one has a special rule: on spawn, Alpha Flight characters gain 500% focus. But obviously, being mutant, you've got a bit of a problem because only 3 out of the 5 members of Alpha Flight are actually mutants. So myself and Boilon's best tip for this one is to take Extreme X-Men, drop Cyclops, and put North Star in his place.
Yeah, I think what also might be good by having North Star is that I have to double check, but I mean, I think a lot of the enemies are hive mind based, and if there's any carnages, for example, North Star will block the turn bar for that if you do happen to get into low hit points and things like that. And North Star is obviously, if you look at this kit, like he's like the best member of the Alpha Flight on his passive in raids. It's just he does a lot of things. And the only other characters you can use is Wolverine and Sunfire, and I don't think you really need it, honestly. So, if it was Guardian and Sasquatch, maybe, but you can't use them. So I think this is probably the best bet there.
Definitely.
And then we don't really need to touch on Astral and Pegasus again. We already to discuss that, but we can take a look at Spec Ops here very briefly here, especially like SO 6, 7, and 8. I think that's in the bottom right corner. That's probably the most important. And one thing that sticks out to me is Zombie Iron Man at 6 red. And once again, if we need to fill up the whole circle, which we don't know, right? Then Zombie Iron Man is going to be a big problem there. He's the one that's going to stop you potentially from getting all those points.
Yeah, correct. Sasquatch at gear tier 19 is another questionable one, possibly.
Not everyone has done G19 on leader. That's possible as well.
Correct. Yeah, I haven't done that yet. And also Nimrod might be another one that is, especially if you've not long unlocked him, you might not have got, him to G19 yet.
Yeah. For the one diamond, I
Um,
think a lot. I think it's fair. Most
yeah,
Deadpool. I don't know if everyone's like leveled. I mean, you don't necessarily need to level these characters. You just have to have the one diamond, I guess. So
correct. Yeah,
that's what we believe it to be. So you could just have a level 1 Deadpool lying around, but you just happen to have pulled a diamond on him, I suppose. So that might still be valid. SO4 G. I mean, that's fine, right? It's SO3, 7 yellow. I don't think that's really
yeah.
much of a problem either, really.
SO4 though, you do have like probably 3 crossover characters in Doom, North Star, and Sunspot.
Yeah, and so that's where if you're trying to min max your spec ops, that's where it's going to be a problem, right? Is that you're going to
Oh,
have a couple of people that do alternate
and Dackard
characters.
as well.
Yeah, so again, that's kind of that. I don't know. You're going to have to find someone that like throws in Taskmaster, like 6 people, or yeah, six. It's sorry, 5 submissions per character for 6
Correct. Yeah.
characters. So you're gonna have to have at least 5 alliance members that don't use Dakin and use Taskmaster or something. And so that's some min maxing that if you decide to go down that way. But I think most of us probably won't do that.
No.
I think that's a lot of work for what could be a small payout. So we'll see. And there's no season leaderboard actually for the first I think week or two or so of Battle World from the schedule. So it's not
Yeah,
something that
something
you're
like
gonna have
that.
to worry about right away, I think. But let's go on to zone number 3, day 3, and let's start things off with the first one, which is it's a weird combination of characters, but still using annihilators, right?
Yeah, so it's bio, mystic, and skill. So obviously you've got the skill character in Thanos Endgame.
Mhm.
You've got your bio in Gore, and Gladiator, and your mystic is your Silver Surfer and your Ultimus.
Mhm.
Again, it counts as arena, and again, annihilators are going to gain that 40% assist chance. So that seems to be the annihilator rule.
Yeah, I mean, it does give you a lot of options if you, again, can't use Silver Surfer. That's 3 different origins, so I'm sure that you can find a character to use in there. It's pretty much, I mean, it's the same thing as the Cosmic Annihilators one, just a different set of traits to use in there, but otherwise the same
Correct.
things.
Yeah.
And then we have on day number 2. This one was interesting when I first saw it, and I was like, oh yeah, that's Illuminati, global, epic, and legendary. So counts as Cosmic Crucible. Illuminati gain apply stun to the primary target on a basic attack. Now I don't know. Is that going to include striker attacks as well? The stun.
I would assume so because it is on their basic. So
I just
whether
don't know
it's
if the
hit their
safety
safety or no
is the
is another
safety,
thing.
whether or not the
Yeah.
safety and the basic share. So that'll be interesting because some of these characters do, like Captain Britain. A lot of people use Striker, and I know for Black Bolt I do as well. So
Yep.
as far as alternative characters for that, though, I mean, if you don't have Captain Britain, he is ongoing right now. Of course, you can collect shards from him in the candy store, but otherwers, if you don't have Captain Britain, I'm sure you can just use the free to play Illuminati.
The free to play Illuminati should do it as fine as well, to be fair.
Yeah, so nothing really big there. We do have number 3 though. If you want to talk about that one, with out of time.
Yeah, the Herald mission. Now, I originally had this down as hero stroke global stroke controller, but the live stream actually confirmed it as hero and global stroke controller, which is
okay. So they have to
which
be
is
global
quite
controller
nice.
together.
No, so they have to be hero and global or a controller.
Okay, right, okay, and right. That's true.
Which makes sense. The node rules for this one is that it counts as war, so
Right.
there is also the raid tag on this one, but mainly the change to this is that it counts as war.
Yeah.
You're going to get a special rule that on spawn, out of time members are going to get 800% resist. So as if they needed any more resist.
Yeah, that's a lot. Wow. Are there any characters that you would suggest if people didn't have, say, I don't know, 1 or 2 of them built up like really high? Do you think it's worth substituting any of them for anyone else, given that it is war? I mean, you just throw Old Man Logan in there, maybe. I mean,
Yeah,
right? Like,
correct.
because he's not on the zone for the day, and so he has vortex, and he could just solo everything probably. And just take
exactly. So
Starbrand
yeah,
out, maybe?
he
I
would
don't
be
know.
one. I'm just trying to think like further down in the Spec Ops because as you'll see, Old Man Logan shows up as 5 yellow star in Spec Ops 2.
Yeah, that could
for the
cause problems,
day,
especially if you need to fill the entire thing. So
exactly.
Some people you only need to put 5 Old Man Logans up though. So some other people could still do that, I guess, if they need to do that. So that's an option there. Yeah, let's talk about Spec Ops. Is there any, especially in like 6, 7, 8? Is there any Ares? There's
Um,
a 6 red. Oh, yeah, that could be a problem because you have to have a 6 yellow Ares to fill that out, which a lot
correct.
of us don't have unless you spent. So
Yeah,
that's currently a problem.
and a 6 red super scroll,
Yeah.
because if you hadn't already put red stars on super scroll, maybe a few months ago, 6, 7 months ago, you
Mhm.
probably wouldn't want to put red stars on him now because of the fact that you've got Old Man Logan, who is more needing of the red stars than what super scroll is.
Yeah. And then we have G19 SO7. I think a lot of them are no. I don't think I use
Nova.
Nova, so that might be a bit tough actually. I'm not
I
sure
mean,
how many
I
members of my alliance have a G19 Nova now.
I took Nova to DD7, so
Okay.
mine is G19, but
And then of course the one diamond there with Thanos Endgame. So you actually cannot currently, they're not available. Thanos Endgame diamonds are not available, and that also means that he has to be at 7 yellow. So there's a couple of things here that are going
exactly.
to block you away from that. And honestly, I think now that I'm thinking about this, I think you might need to complete the full circle because there's there seems to be one or two that really stick out, which seem to me maybe preventing you from getting these points, and
Yeah,
that
those
this was
points. Yeah.
carefully designed, I think.
Oh, most definitely.
I think that's about it. I don't see. I'm just looking at the other ones. It doesn't look that bad. Maybe SO2 with Sentinel at 5 yellow, because he's still kind of new and fresh. But other than
Yeah.
that, it should be better as time goes on, though. I think 6, 7, and 8 is probably where things are going to get a bit dicey.
Should we move on to zone 4?
That's zone 3. Let's talk about zone 4. And let's kick things off with the X-Men.
Yes. So this one has a node rulers counts as raid. And a special rule: Extreme X-Men gain plus 97% to all their base stats.
Yeah, so that was a call out to X-Men 97 because I think that's what the mod is called.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of clever, actually. I do like that. And unfortunately, it's only to Extreme X-Men. I mean, we found with the Orchestrate buffs that it didn't really matter too much. You could probably take Cyclops out and just use Old Man Logan, right?
Old Man Logan. Yeah.
That's what we're gonna. That he is in the Spec Ops, so you might want to be careful that some people can use Old Man Logan, and others will have to do it with. I'll probably do it with Cyclops just so someone else can throw Spec Ops into Old Man, or I'll throw Spec Ops into Old Man Logan, right, for that instead. But otherwise, there's also more X-Men in the future as well. Hint, hint.
There
In
it is.
December,
Hint,
so
hint.
I mean, there may be some future stuff to add to this if you don't have your Extreme X-Men leveled up, or if you want to use an alternative to Cyclops too.
You do also have Emma. If you didn't want to use her in the Astral node there in the Elite mission, you could put Emma in with them, which I think would be quite good.
Now the bio in Asgard, this was kind of like a shift or like a move from Zone 2 originally, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So this was originally one of the nodes in Zone 2, but got moved to Zone 4.
Mm-hmm.
This one counts as war and has a special rule of undying gain if attack, apply one offense up. And for each offense up, they're going to gain 15% speed and damage,
that's pretty big. Like in a speed gain, that's a lot. And if it keeps stacking, that's quite good.
Yep. And obviously, especially considering that the war buffs are in there, so you've got the buffs coming from Zombie Juggernaut as well. He's going to hit like an absolute truck.
And he's going to be tanking quite a bit. And so he's probably going to get a lot of these offense ups. And then he's just going to do a crap ton of damage with all those stacks. And then if you happen to have Zombie Scarlet Witch leveled and unlocked, of course, because it's not always the easiest there, she gives Safeguard to everyone as well. So, that's going to make it a little bit easier. It's probably doable without, but because the bio trait, you can add in some other characters as well, right?
Yeah.
I was just, thinking top meta characters right now as I scroll over through my game. But there's a lot of other options that you could use. You could use Gore.
I mean, you could put Odin in because it's Asgard.
Right. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, that's true. Right. And Odin is in the Spec Ops mission. If you're one of those people, talk about that. If you're one of those people who cleared within the first 30 days, but there are other Super Skrull as well, which is also on Spec Ops now that I'm looking at it at the same time. So there are other characters that you'll be able to fit into the bio section if you don't have Zombie Scarlet Witch, or frankly, you don't have Undying leveled. But this is their attempt to try to get you interested in leveling up Undying.
Yep.
And then let's talk about the next one. This is interesting.
The Herald mission is Horseman, MSF Originals, or Apocalypse. Again, for some obscure reason, counts as war for its node rules on this one, which is a little bit strange considering that, we haven't got many war-based MSF Originals, or apart from obviously, you've got Red Hulk from the Horseman, and you've got Deathpool doesn't have any war tags, but she obviously being part of Mercs for Money. Basically, this node, I believe, is going to be Apocalypse and Red Hulk are going to be the two that you're going to want to take. Obviously, for Red Hulk, giving APOC the speed bonus. And then everything outside of that is whatever you have built up as an MSF Original or a Horseman.
Yeah, I think Vol will be pretty important there. But also keep in mind that Vol is also Asgardian. So, you might have to decide whether or not to use it in Mission 2 or in the Herald mission, because they could be used in either or. So you'll need to. There's not a lot of selection though, and so without a doubt, APOC is the centerpiece of that one.
APOC will carry this node, I think, and then with Red Hulk, giving him the extra speed and everything.
I think I'm most interested in this mission when we get to like D4, D5, because that's where things might get a little bit tougher, maybe. Especially because not everyone keeps all these MSF Originals and Horsemen up to date as far as gear tier goes. So that's where I wonder if Apocalypse can carry it through or not.
This is obviously where they're really trying to get you to do that. This is another roster check.
Yeah, let's talk about the Spec Ops. This is interesting, especially 6, 7, 8. Let's start with Odin on SO6 there with 6 reds. So if you miss the 30 day, so 6 red Odin was you had to clear up to global villain, I think, right? Basically everything until the end to get 6 red within the 30 days of that milestone. And if you don't, well, you can't get the red stars from him, right? So you're kind of shit out of luck. So hopefully, and if it's the way we think it might be, which is that you need to complete the entire circle, then if 5 of your members don't have Odin as 6 red, you're shit out of luck, basically. And you might as well move. You might as well use those characters because you're not finishing the circle. Yeah,
my alliance is shit out of luck because I think we have 2, 3 Odins in our entire alliance. So yeah,
and Red Hulk is in there, which makes that the Herald mission super punishing if you're relying on Odin to use, relying on Red Hulk to use in there. So they've really screwed you on that SO6, I think there. But and then Old Man Logan, which you can use in the X-Men.
Again, you've got 1 DPC character that hasn't even got anything yet in Odin. You've got Old Man Logan, who's a DPC character, Red Hulk, who's a DPC character. Like, most people aren't going to have Old Man Logan.
I don't even have 6 Red Hulk yet, so that's a big problem.
Exactly. Yeah.
So if your alliance can't qualify for even one of these characters, and that's how it works, then you might as well just use them in your combat missions, and move on.
Can we also talk about Spec Ops 01 now?
Oh yeah.
I don't know about you.
Wow. Yeah, lots of characters, lots of new characters.
Man-Thing, Oath, and Blade all required in Spec Ops 01 in Zone 4 at 3 yellow stars. Now, I know that is just a base unlock, but a lot of people who are doing this free to play, they probably haven't got those characters yet. And as Battleworld releases on Monday,
that could be a little bit of a problem.
That gives you till Thursday to get those characters unlocked if you want to put them into the Spec Ops.
Yeah, so that's a bit challenging, I think, for that one, at least for the first couple of weeks until we get whatever future event, I guess, if there is one for Oath and Man-Thing.
We also have Captain Britain in SO2 at 5 yellow. That's going to be another hard one to get hold of.
Like if one character breaks the circle or breaks your ability to get points, which I think it might. I'm starting to think that this was planned intentionally. They definitely Captain Britain on there. Spec Ops 3 doesn't look that bad. 4 doesn't look that bad, although you do have to have Zombie Scarlet. At least 5 of you need to have Zombie Scarlet Witch, but I mean, it's just a gear tier, so as long as you do have her.
And some of you have to have Phoenix built to gear tier 15.
I don't know why they did that. I don't know why they added Phoenix of all characters who has not been used in a long time. She's not even currently meta, and so almost every other Spec Ops character I understand, but Phoenix was one that I had no idea why she was even on there.
No, and one thing I will say about that is that does that mean that she's due a rework at some point in time?
Yeah, and I wonder if that is something. Is that a teaser? Is that an Easter egg for something that they're saying? Because most of the characters on here are meta characters at this point in time.
Yes.
and so
Yeah.
that's interesting. Spec Ops 7 with Gear 19, all of that looks pretty reasonable. Maybe Wolverine is a bit sus there, but you only
Yeah.
need about five alliance members to do that, so hopefully it's not
I'd
that
say Wolverine
bad.
there, 1 diamond on
Yeah.
Zombie Iron
Yeah,
Man.
that's not looking good.
No.
The rest of them look
And
okay, I think, but that
let's
Zombie Iron
not,
Man
let's not
is.
forget, like, a lot of people didn't do the X-Men rework when it happened. A lot of people didn't invest in that because they saw it as a trap. And,
Yeah.
E17 needed on X23 and Spec Ops
That's
05
true.
again
I
is
don't have
another
that.
one.
Even on my main account, I don't have that actually, so that's going to be a bit of a problem there. But maybe there's 5 people in my alliance who can fill that, because I really don't want to put more resources into it this time.
No,
So that one's
exactly.
kind of funny. Yeah, so that's zone 4. There's a few, as you can see, like there's like 1 or 2 in certain Spec Ops areas where it's going to be challenging, I think, for those bonus points. And if it is the way we think it is, like that, it's carefully crafted, I think.
Definitely. So it's certainly Spec Ops. So zones 1 to 3, I would say the Spec Ops are fairly easy to do. But
Now we're ratcheting it up a bit.
Now we're ratcheting up a bit.
Now let's go to zone 5. So this is going to be your second to last day before you get into Knull, and we're starting with city or support, counting as raids with bonuses for Hive Mind. So this one's interesting.
Yep.
The weaker they are, the more damage that they do. So this one's it's quite a lot actually, 200% damage. And the characters like Red Goblin already have some pretty high damage. So that's going to be good. And they're currently usable in Orcus anyways. So with the exception of maybe like Venom, because people replace them with Super Scroll. But I mean, I think that this shouldn't be that difficult. And if you don't have like Venom, there is like any other. You could probably just take any other Spider-Verse character probably because they're all city.
You could, yeah.
So if you want to throw that in there. It's probably someone else that you could substitute with.
You probably like Noir or someone like that would be a good bet to put in there because obviously then you're getting those bleeds out early. A lot of people have Noir built quite big, so hopefully you'll get that sort of Carnage passive going quite quickly.
Yeah. Let's talk about villain tech.
Yeah, villain tech. Obviously, that is based around one team and one team only, and that is the Orcus team. They are pushing you to get these new teams up and running. It counts as a raid, surprise, surprise. And special rule: Orcus characters gain +1 deflect when attacked.
That's pretty good, actually.
So, yeah.
I think that there is obviously an alternative that you could do with Sinister Six because there are, I think, 5 Sinister Six tech characters. So if you, for Spec Ops reasons, probably more than anything, if you're trying to use alternative ones characters to get this mission done, that would probably be the second most alternative. But it counts as raids, right? So they're not going to get their Crucible or War bonuses doing that either. So that's something to keep in mind.
And again, the Spec Ops they've carefully crafted because you've got Mysterio in there, you've got Doc Ock in there, you've got Vulture in there. You've got Green Goblin Classic in there, so
I think if you're min-maxing the Spec Ops, it's going to be a case of some people use this team, and like a handful of other people use the alternative team, so that you can send those Spec Ops in. Again, I don't think that that's going to be something that the majority of alliances are going to think about or even need to do, honestly. But it's going to be like those top, I don't know, 1,000 players basically who
top 5%.
And let's talk about the Herald mission. This one's kind of interesting too, a little bit.
Yeah, Hero Mystic. The node rules counts as raid again. Special rule: on spawn, Night Stalker characters gain 150% damage, 110% speed, and minus 50% armor. So really leaning into that thing about vampires and that being fast and deadly in damage, but a bit brittle.
Pretty sure the mod was is the uphill skating. I'm almost certain that was what it was called.
I think it's something like that, yeah.
And so the 50%, the speed, they're getting like basically 2 turns for every turn. So that's an insane amount of speed. As far it's Night Stalkers, right? We don't even all have them yet. I don't have Oath or Man Thing on my main account, so that's interesting.
No.
As far as alternatives go, I mean, I was gonna say you can use Vol if you're not doing that Asgard mission. We'll talk about that because it was shown on the live stream and that wasn't easy either.
Yeah.
But as far as alternative characters to use for that, I think Vol Eternals, maybe if you have them leveled. I'm just kind of looking at the roster right now.
The thing to note is that it is Hero Mystic, so you can't even put Agatha in as a Night Stalker because she's a villain, obviously.
I think because the Ratex is active, Death Pool is a very good choice here, though, because of on kill, giving the ability energy and all that, which actually
Yeah,
just doubles with Oath as well too, because they both kind of have a similar passive with ability energy on kill. So that's definitely good there. But if you don't have some of these characters, you're gonna have to, Eternals, Vol, Spider Weaver. Maybe I'm starting to scrape a little bit, especially I'm looking at my alt accounts roster, as far as what I might have leveled up. So
straight the barrel. Yeah,
Vol for sure is probably what I would include. If you're not doing the Asgard mission, which honestly I wouldn't even bother, I wouldn't even attempt it without Odin, because I'm pretty sure from what I remember from the live stream, Pathfinder tried to do it without Odin and didn't get very far at all. Maybe at lower
no,
difficulties, but at higher difficulties, I don't think you're really going to make
that
progress on this.
well, that mission is set to Odin definitely. So should we go over the Asgard mission just a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, there's really not much to say other than you should have Odin for this, but
So the node rules on this is that all modes are active. So Cosmic Crucible, War, Raid, Arena, everything is active on this node. And the special rule for this is on Odin's basic, it's going to generate 1 ability energy to each Asgardian.
Which is pretty crazy. And I think that may also apply to his battlefield time, because that basically just triggers the basic again.
The basic again,
and
yeah.
So spamming that is going to just give them, if they live long enough to actually use their skills. And I think the part that is almost active is actually more to do with the enemies than it is your own characters. Because from what I remember from the live stream, there was a whole host of random characters that had, all sorts of different game modes to them. And with the final wave being Mephisto with like a bunch of legendaries. So
I think that it's doable. I think now this isn't me saying you need to go build your Bifrost, but I think if you have the Val, Loki, King Loki, and Sylvie and Odin, I think that possibly has the best shot at getting through that node.
Yeah.
With Odin, I think where Pathfinder went wrong in the stream was putting Beta Ray Bill in instead of Loki. Because Loki obviously activates Sylvie's passive, meaning that she gets to go first, meaning that she gets to turn rewind, and a lot of the damage happened quite early on to him, and he lost a lot of characters very early on, whereas I think if he had that control from Sylvie properly and the control from Loki, I think he would have been all right.
One other thing I would say is that the clones from Loki actually would also activate Odin's assists. Every time they attack, that Odin would get to attack back as well, which is extra damage added on. My only concern is that final wave that I saw, which was like Mephisto and all of the sort of trial legendaries, Black Cat, Green Goblin, Nova, and there was someone else in there that I don't quite remember, but that was a crazy final wave. And even at lower, actually, is this available on all difficulties, or was it just D5?
No, it is available on all difficulties, I believe, but it is only on Zone 5. So
right. So you're not going to see it that often, but it will be an interesting challenge for sure. And I do want to let people know that this is not required to clear to get to Knull. It's considered a bonus node. So as long as you do the other ones, I don't even think the elite missions necessarily, required to do either. I think the main 3, as long as you clear that, then you'll have no problems getting onto the next zone.
Correct.
Let's go on to Spec Ops. Let's start at SO6 just for giggles. We got a Captain Britain 6 red. So that's
Captain Britain 6 red.
Like I'm saying, there's like 1 or 2 characters that are really stopping you from doing this. Captain Britain, Green Goblin, maybe, but I mean, some people, a lot of people probably have it. But
Sentinel at 6 red. That's assuming you've got a 6 yellow Sentinel.
That's true. Actually, that's not super great either. Now that I look at that, SO7 G19. It's not bad. Some people haven't done Cosmic Ghost Rider. Now, I did this for myself for Dark Dimension 7, but it might be a tough sell now with Annihilators and Cosmic. There wasn't a lot of choices back then, so that's what I did. The rest of them are kind of okay, I think. The 1 diamond Nimrod, that's a bit tough because, again, that assumes you have a 7 yellow Nimrod.
Well, that assumes that not only does that assume that you had a 7 yellow Nimrod, that also assumes that you placed within the top, was it the top 5,000 players, maybe less than that, in his leaderboard?
You could get lucky. You could get lucky because they are in the regular diamond orbits as well. I actually did this for Thanos Endgame and managed to get a diamond that way. So if you're super lucky on your pulls, you could still get it. Oh, actually,
Okay.
no, sir. He's in the Orcus thing, the showcase thing.
Oh yeah, the Orchid Showcase.
I
Sorry,
actually have it.
yes.
Yeah. What am I
Yeah,
talking about? Yeah, it's a lot easier than you thought it was.
yeah,
We'll
definitely.
scrap that.
We'll scrap that bit.
7
I
yellow
think the
Thanos
most,
though. SO3.
yeah, the most interesting one though is SO1, a 3
Oh,
yellow star zombie Scarlet
Yeah, that
Witch.
might be tough. Because the odds right now, unless as of recording, anyways, unless they give us some compensation or make things a lot better, that actually might still be a struggle for a lot of people. But at least you only need 5 people to put that up. So maybe 5 people of your alliance will have 3-star zombie Scarlet Witch. Fingers
Yeah,
crossed.
and a 7 yellow zombie Juggernaut.
Yeah,
Again.
hopefully not a big problem in the future. Hopefully they make them farmable in the not so distant. The Thanos
Yeah.
might be an issue more than they're both probably an issue, honestly, at this point, this early on.
At this point.
So
And what we got to remember is that what we got to remember is that this will be live on Monday, so day 5 will be Friday for us.
So there's a lot of whether or not your alliance has this, or even like I said, each of these characters you need 5 characters from 5 people from your alliance to submit them in order to fill this cycle out. So I guess the only silver lining would be if you don't have it, hopefully somebody else does. I guess is what Spec Ops is, and kind of why we did this video as well, to kind of share with you guys each of the zones and get a better understanding of what characters that you officially will need for Monday.
Exactly.
And I think that's it, because that's zone 5. So I think we're done.
That is.
Oh yeah, this is me going through my roster. All right, and we're gonna talk about Knull here at the end of the video, because just want to do a very quick overview of what to expect. I think in Zone 6 in the final day of Battleworld, which is going to be on Saturday, by the way.
Yep. So we learned some of the rules today for Knull. So the fact that he can take no more than 4 million damage from percentile damage is quite a key one. But what both myself and yourself thought would be the best team for this node was kind of shown in the stream. I asked Pathfinder to do the mythic soup, as we call it, which is basically just all your mythic characters plus one other. He chose Shadow King to go into this. I actually think, and so does Boilon, I think, mate, we both think that Old Man Logan would have been the better 5th.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they were using Odin, Apocalypse, Super Skrull.
Yep, Mephisto,
and Shadow King. And I would have used Old Man Logan to create that 2-2 balance for Super Skrull, the 2 heroes, 2 villains. And he seemed to do pretty well. Like you can see the damage on the screen here. I think as far as percent at D5, I think it was like, I want to say 4% that he did on Knull, which sounds not a lot, but actually in the grand scheme of things, if 24 people are doing something similar, that is a lot for one attack.
Well, that's nearly Knull dead. If it's 4%, and all of you are doing 4%.
I don't actually have the
24.
Anymore. But there is 3 attempts that you're going to get. And I wasn't 100% sure about this, but it was confirmed on the live stream that you're going to get 3 attempts or 3 full teams to use against Knull per player. So they showed doing the Astral team against Knull, and that did about 10% actually with the entire full team, I think is what Pathfinder ended up doing, which was a ton of damage because they do a lot of percent-based damage in their attacks. So, I mean, that almost shows you that, even 10 Astral teams, full Astral teams, would be able to topple D5 Knull. But obviously, we're not going to have that for like 3 weeks or so, at least. Exactly. Or if you don't even unlock early, right? If you're looking for that free-to-play slow drip on Ancient 1 and Emma, it could take even a little bit longer. But I'm saving my course, so.
And it all depends on when Shadow King becomes available as well.
Yeah. So in the meantime, I think that we'll be using. I think the Mythic Soup is probably the strongest first bet. Again, even if you're doing like 4%, we're not even doing D5 right at the start anyways, right? So it's probably going to do way more damage than that, in the early first few weeks, because we're looking at a Knull that's a lot weaker anyways. So that should be not a problem, I would imagine. And of course, there's going to be more things that pop up that's going to work, as the weeks go on, as we go up in difficulty. And so we don't have an infographic for the Knull battle, but I think that that's probably something that we can do over the next.
We'll put one together once we've done some more testing on it and stuff like that. But obviously,
that's where I would start. The Mythic Soup, even if you don't have Odin, something like Mephisto, Super Skrull, Old Man Logan, Apocalypse, and an extra hero or something like that to throw that in there, I think would work wonders as well. And I think that's
Yep.
pretty much everything. I know there's a lot to go through, and these infographics are going to be made available to the wider public as well after the videos go out. So if you want to share this with your alliance, that's definitely something that could be made possible. It will be posted on my Discord server, anyways, in the Boilon's
Yep.
resources channel, and I probably will make an announcement at some point about that as well too. I think that's everything.
Awesome. That is everything.
And there will be time. I should have said at the beginning, timestamps in the bottom, anyways, for each of the zones if you want to go back and check them out as well for each of the sections. So I want to thank everyone for coming to the video here and talking with me and or listening to me and Big Positive Geek on this Battle World journey that's going to be starting on Monday. It's fast approaching, so getting to know exactly what you need to do and what characters you need to prepare, I think, is for the best. So I want to
Yeah,
thank you, BPG,
definitely.
for coming to the video and chatting with everyone on this. I think it's going to be really important, and we'll see how this ends up going. I guess we'll see if it's bug free. We'll see if it's how engaging and fun it is, especially as the weeks go on, and all the feedback that we'll probably hear, I'm sure.
Yeah, and there is a feedback channel going into the main Discord, I believe, is what they said on the stream as well. So make sure that if you're unhappy with anything or if you're happy with anything, put that in the feedback channel, definitely.
Yeah. And so that's going to be the end of this video, everyone. And of course, until next time, stay safe and I fucked that up. Until next time, stay safe and healthy, and we'll see you all later. There we go. Boilon and BPG signing out.